Get in the know. Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Welcome in to another historical pie chart edition of Purple Daily here. Daily Vikings entertainment.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. And after watching this game back, the 2009 NFC Championship game, this might have been the most bang your head against the wall chance
The Rock knows
that
how
they've
you feel about pie.
ever had. Ever.
Trigger warning here. You've been warned. We're about to go down a path that, let's just say, might be too difficult for some of you. Have antacids prepared, perhaps a drink. Be ready for what we're about to do, because we're going to explore something I watched again yesterday, and it doesn't get any easier.
Yeah, I don't think I could go back and rewatch this game. I'm dead serious.
I did.
I did too.
Even for the sake of the I don't. This one is so difficult. I've done
raw.
it before, and it just
It's raw.
it just makes me upset. I'm gonna be furious by the end of this episode.
This game, watching this back infuriated me.
Yeah,
But I think, and real quick, a shout out to TCL, award-winning TVs
It's not
for
your
any
fault,
budget.
TCL.
Yeah, I tried to punch my TCL TV, but stopped just short because it's not the TV's fault. It's a great TV. All with stunning picture quality. TCL makes more than just TVs. They offer mobile products, audio devices, home appliances. TCL brings you joy and simplicity through innovative technology. You can learn more at TCL.com. And a shout out to our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company as well. Federated's been around for over 100 years, helping businesses maximize their level of success through risk management, tools, and resources. Federated believes their value is measured by the success of their clients. So you work hand in hand. They are a true partner in helping you fortify your business. At Federated, it's our business to protect yours. So the 2009 NFC Championship game, Judd has the pie chart for this one. And I just want to say, as much as we've kind of referenced this game throughout our show's history, and we wring our hands over the missed opportunities, the near falls, if you will, I don't know that we've ever actually gone through the exercise of like therapeutically putting this one to bed. Like, we've complained about it, we've bitched about it, we've talked about the different things that went wrong. But the pie chart of blame can be very therapeutic. We do the blame and we do the praise depending on if they win or lose during the regular season. And by the time you're done, like if they get beat on a Sunday night by Cooper Rush, and we come back on a Monday, after we're done doing the exercise, it feels like, all right, we've laid that game to rest. We've properly assigned blame to everyone who needs it. I don't know that we've ever actually gone through line by line and said, you, buddy, are the reason 20% why they failed here. You get another 25%. So I expect this to be actually somewhat therapeutic. I'm hopeful for that today.
I'm with Declan. You'll be pissed off.
No.
You'll be pissed off at the end. I watched this. You know what? As your professional Minnesota sports therapist, I promise nothing. The ordinary results that you get, I promise nothing. 98 and 2009 are special types of pain.
Well, let's get into it then. Let's just get into
The
the
Rock knows how you feel about pie.
my chart. I'll just say my last thing on this as a preamble is, after watching this game back again, probably done it like 2 or 3 times in the last 14 years now. I can't believe that they lost this game. They dominated this game. How did they lose this game?
475 yards to 257 total yards for the Saints.
That's insane.
But the answer to your question is, like I've always said, if I don't show you the score and I show you the statistical book for this game and say who won, you're going to say, well, the Vikings won, of course, until you get to one thing.
Yeah.
5 turnovers.
Yeah, a tornado of turnovers. And the Saints, it was
A
actually
hurricane.
really,
Yes, you're right.
it was, well, I guess a hurricane, yeah. It was uncomfortable watching Brett Favre just get pummeled too. Now that we're all very much like awakened.
Did it strike you, Phil, though, that as he was being just annihilated, Troy Aikman a few times said, "That's a bad call, legal hit,"
Yeah.
or Brett Favre, "That's a fine hit." It's literally the hits that, or at least some of them, that were part of the whole bounty scheme. Aikman's like defending it.
Yeah, it was a different tone back then, and this game kind of led to just more like the Tom Brady ACL in 2008 led to like you can't hit a quarterback below the waist, but then this game led to a couple things. It led to an overtime rule change, and then it led to like let's protect quarterbacks even more. But too late on both fronts, the overtime rule and the protect quarterbacks. A little too late for the Vikings' comfort because Anyhow,
it's going to get worse, Declan.
The Rock knows how you feel about
Again.
pie.
All right, how many slices?
We're going into very uncomfortable territory that will deliver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 slices. 7 slices.
Yeah.
One more than usual, and it might not be enough, but at some point in time, I had to draw a line because I only have a 100% piece of pie to give out.
And I guess for some of the other historical pie charts, we've done like a big setup because you might not remember what happened in the 1998 Thanksgiving game directly, right? So we do. I think everyone knows the Vikings lost this game to the Saints 31-28. They committed 5 turnovers. They also fumbled like 2 or 3 additional times. And Brett Favre threw across his body at the end of the fourth quarter after a 12th men in the huddle penalty out of a timeout, by the way, that inexplicably derailed a Vikings game-winning Super Bowl sending drive.
I believe the Vikings allowed the clock to get down to 16 seconds on the move to try to set up a Longwell field goal attempt when the flag flew and we got the 12 men. So like there were 16 seconds.
The Rock knows how you feel about
this
pie.
game really was won until it wasn't. All right. 3 slices to start with, each of 5%. So I'm giving out small slices here.
Unprecedented.
How many total slices then?
7.
Oh, 7. Okay.
Yep. So
Okay.
7 slices, but I'm giving out 3 5% slices.
Okay.
Because these players, they actually didn't have terrible games, but they participated in some of the problems, and I feel that they cannot go unnoticed for this.
Sure.
Okay. First 5% slice goes to a guy who actually had a really good game, but he also had one of the fumbles at one of the most inopportune times, Bernard Berrian. 9 passes, 102 yards. To this day, I'll say it till I die, still open on the end zone. If you watch Favre roll right, the guy who's open right in front of him was Bernard Berrian, standing there. The defender is well off, and as Favre is forcing the ball over the middle, and it is like you go back and watch that, unjustifiable. It's an egregious force.
Didn't they also have a timeout left? Because they tried to call timeout for the 12th man, but because they had one timeout for the 12th man.
That would have been a penalty, yeah.
But the penalty negated the timeout. So I'm 90% sure they had a timeout.
Yes, they probably did.
Favre could have just ran for 6 yards, slid, and called timeout, right? That was an option.
Right. Well, and the story has been, well, he couldn't run, but I mean, just
he rolled out to the right.
Hobble forward, and just hobble forward.
Just
like, get as
crawl,
far,
for God's sakes.
I mean, Longwell's contention is that he could have made the field goal from where the ball was originally. So anyway, Bernard Berrian gets 5% because he caught 9 passes, 102 yards, actually had a really nice game, but he lost a fumble, which continues on the pattern. The next 5% goes to then rookie, and a guy I don't believe would fumble all season long until this game, Percy Harvin. So he caught 5 passes for 38 yards. He also rushed the ball 4 times for 15 yards. But for the first time, as I recall, in that season, he lost a fumble, which again was crucial. So Berrian and Harvin get small slices. Not that they had terrible days, but they can't go unpunished for this.
Yeah.
Look at that. Declan's seething.
I'm
you're getting madder too.
I'm triggered too. I'm triggered.
Yeah,
right
I
now.
know. I know. I'm telling you, this is not going to, again, if this is upsetting you, I understand you have permission to walk away, but how can you do it right now? How can you not listen to the anger that's about to come out? Okay, last 5% chunk. And this is just from the understanding of the story, okay? Fahutahi.
Okay.
Now, he recovered a fumble actually in this game, so he gets credit for that.
Well,
I believe it was a Favre fumble or a Peterson fumble he fell on. But legend is that he was ultimately set out as the 12th man, and we will punish those who deserve to be punished coming up. But he was the 12th man, supposedly.
Okay.
And I can't look past that completely. So he's going to get a 5% chunk. Again, Berrian, Harvin, Tahi, aren't like the primary criminals of this thing.
No,
like
and Berrian had his best game of the season, basically, and made a couple tough catches in traffic, over defenders, third down. There was a big third down conversion at one point.
Yep.
But, yeah.
All right. Next slice of pie is going to be 10%. And I forgot, in the excitement of all that went wrong, I forgot that I guess much like the Saints that day, this group, and it's a group, had some chances to make some stops and failed. 10% goes to the defense. So the Vikings score on their first drive. The Vikings defense then allows the Saints to come down and score immediately as well. And the Saints end up scoring on 2 of their first 3 drives. If you go back and watch the overtime game-winning field goal drive, the Vikings were leaky as hell. There were missed tackles at times. Like, this was a bad time not to be on top of your game. The Lieber PI, we can debate it, but I went back and watched it again. He's great. He gets handsier than I recalled as well.
But there wasn't body contact.
They shouldn't have called it.
I thought it was a bad call in that moment, because if they're hand fighting, and he wasn't like holding a hand down, they were kind of hand fighting.
But I'm saying that play was also part and parcel of the fact that the Saints had been really pretty easily on that drive going down the field. And, keep in mind at this time, if you go down the field and kick a field goal, as we learned in that game, the game was over back then. Yeah. So it wasn't like, okay, we're going to get the ball back. So I'm going to give the defense 10%. Because it wasn't without some fault there. That's back when I believe what was Asher Allen at a corner and Tyrell Johnson. There were some real questionable secondary guys.
Dude, Tyrell Johnson dropped an interception in overtime too. Right before, I think that was the play before the Lieber pass interference.
Yep.
And now Lieber was in the mix there too. Like, it looked like Lieber maybe got a finger on the ball, but it was right rattling around the arms of Tyrell Johnson. And he had 2 or 3 teammates come up to him. Chad Greenway was one of them. And I think they were trying to encourage him a little bit, but they were kind of staring at him too, like, dude, you may have just cost us the Super Bowl. If you catch that pass, we probably drive right back and shove it down their throats.
Was not good. He was not a good player.
Second round pick?
Yeah, second round pick. I think he was a second round pick in a year where they didn't have a first round pick. He might have been the Jared Allen year.
He was. That's right.
But yeah, that secondary was leaky. I mean, Breeze is good, don't get me wrong. And at that time, he was very, very good. But there were some missed opportunities.
Asher Allen came in for the injured Cedric Griffin in that game.
That's what it was. Yep.
That's what happened.
Yeah. So anyway, defense, not a ton.
The Rock knows
10%.
how you feel about pie.
God, this is
tough.
3 more slices here.
This is tough. This is not going to get us through this. But the next slice is deserved. It might be a little bit less than you expect, but again, it's a guy who had a great day statistically, some key obvious miscues. And it could have been worse, which is unbelievable. 20% goes to Adrian Peterson. Now, here's why I didn't give him more. He rushed for 3 touchdowns, 122 yards on 25 carries.
Yeah.
He was charged with 2 fumbles, he was charged with 2 fumbles, but he was not charged with the one where the Vikings could have really put a hurting on the Saints. When Reggie Bush fumbled the punt at the end of the first half, he muffed that punt. The Vikings have the ball at about the 10. Favre goes to hand off to Peterson. Peterson does not get a good grip at all. I fault him, but statistically, the fumble had to go to Favre because the possession hadn't officially changed hands.
Yeah. So
Peterson gets 20%, and he gets a lot of blame. But like Berrian, he also had a really good day statistically.
I feel like for Peterson, it's also kind of a lifetime achievement award. He had some fumbling issues.
God, yeah.
Didn't they make him walk around the practice facility, Winter Park, with a football in his arm for a couple of weeks at one point?
Tiki Barber plan.
Is that what Tiki did? He just walked around for a year with a football? Grocery store, football?
When Tiki had the fumbling problem, but Peterson's problem too was, and God bless him, but he ran so hard that he never knew when the run should be done. And so guys would just come in and rake the ball.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, just go down. Like, you're not going to get enough yardage to substantiate trying to continue, but he didn't know that and he didn't care.
Yeah. So it's tough because, some of these guys like Berrian and Peterson had 2 of their best games of the year, but then in the end, they had these high leverage fumbles. If the Vikings had just, let's say Favre's first interception was the only turnover, or maybe they had like one extra
They
fumble.
win the game.
They probably score 40 some points.
Yeah,
it's
they
crazy.
probably win by
40.
10 to
They
14.
win 42 to 31 or something.
Yeah. All right. So far, 5% to Tahi, Berrian, and Harvin, 10% to the defense, 20% that we just gave out to Adrian Peterson, 25% goes to Brad Childress and the coaching staff.
Okay. So Bieniemy is this where Bieniemy kind of
This is
sits
Bieniemy, Jimmy Johnson. We still don't know to this day who really sent the 12th man out. Initially, I heard it was Bieniemy, but then it came back that no, it was the tight ends coach at the time. Jimmy Johnson was responsible. And so we still don't know where fault lies, but we know this. That game, and I was told it was chaotic. The sideline was completely chaotic. And it reflected that. Like when you send 12 men out, coming out of a timeout, by the way. So like this is we cannot have any screw ups pre-snap, right? And you have 12. How does that happen? Brad Childress, 25%. Because if you have that much problems on a sideline, that's on the coaching staff.
Well, yeah, let's unpack this a little bit because and by the way, cheap plug, about 4 years ago, we sat down with Sage Rosenfels, who was the backup quarterback and was in the mix on all this stuff, right? He's on the headset, he's in all the practices, he's on the sidelines, whatever. And he did a 2-part podcast with us that you can find on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. If you scroll through like the Purple Rewind section, you'll see it. Sage Rosenfels telling Brett Favre stories and NFC Championship game, whatever. And if I remember correctly, he was saying that there was just a lot of voices on the headset. Instead of it being, hey, everyone calm down.
Yep.
Everyone shut up. Yep. Brad Childress here.
Yep.
Shut up. I'm going to talk to my quarterback and my offense right now, right?
Right.
It was like Bieniemy was yelling this, and maybe the tight ends coach was yelling that. And so just in a moment where you need a little space and clarity and calmness, Brad Childress didn't provide enough of it in that moment. Even like, I feel like there's a little, well, I'm guessing we're going to get to the Brett Favre slice here, but like before the interception across his body, why is the 40-year-old veteran quarterback not, hey, hold on, before we huddle here out of a timeout, right? Don't get in the huddle. Everyone, we're coming out. Let me just real quick. Whoa, okay, let me count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like the fact that it didn't occur to anyone until they were, so again, they're coming out of a timeout and they're all in the huddle, and you can see Brett Favre realizes, oh, this is bad. We have too many. Why is Tahi here, right? We have too much meat and potatoes. No one recognizes that until they're in the huddle. Like that's a quarterback mistake too. You got to count before you get in the huddle, right?
Well, yeah, in training camp 2010, Aaron Rodgers openly talked about that. He said because at that time he and Favre weren't exactly buddies. He said something along the lines of, well, what a quarterback's supposed to do is step up to the huddle, but don't insert yourself and count the helmets.
Yes.
So yes, that is exactly right. That's exactly right. The other intriguing thing here too is if you go back and watch it, and I didn't think about this at the time, but it's definitely 1000% true. On that drive, or at least for part of it, Peterson had been benched for his fumbles. It was Chester Taylor carrying the ball.
Correct. That's amazing. Yeah, they didn't trust. Although didn't Peterson? I think he got a carry at some point.
I think he did too, but they took him out, and I think it was
Chester
probably,
Chester had the big run. He had the big run to sort of set them up, and Sidney Rice had the big catch. Actually, the Favre throw to Sidney Rice, just threading a needle up the seam, and then the Chester Taylor run. But you're right. Chester was, at that moment, what do you need? We need, first and foremost, someone to not fumble.
Yep.
And Peterson wasn't desperate. So just real quick, you gave Fahu Tahi 5%. And I'm assuming it's for being the 12th man, right?
Yes. I can't forget that.
Is it, if a coach told him, and I don't know what the personnel groupings would have been. I'm trying to think of like tight ends, receivers, but let's say it was supposed to be 11 personnel, 3 receivers or whatever. But another coach said 21 personnel. We're going to go with a running back and a fullback and a tight end and 2 receivers. If the coach said 21 personnel, then he would go out there, right? Or do you think he maybe heard the personnel grouping wrong and he wandered his way out there?
I don't know. And he, according, as I said, to legend, he was the 12th man, so I'm not going to give him a big slice, but I feel because we don't know the exact facts that a player has to pay here. And Favre will pay, don't get me wrong. But yeah, we don't know. We don't know if it was Bieniemy screaming one personnel package and Johnson. And I guess my question then is why would, like what's going on there? Again, to your point of the Superdome's this loud, raucous environment. Why doesn't somebody have control here to say, okay, let's all just, it's a timeout. Like the purpose of this is to chill. We're not drawing up some elaborate play. It was going to be a run, I would hope.
Because they were inside the 35.
Yeah, right? So it's going to be a run.
And the 5-yard penalty pushes them back closer to the 40-yard line. Like they were at like the 38-yard line.
Yep.
And we've talked to Ryan Longwell enough over the years, and he has said, first of all, if not for the 5-yard penalty, he's like, we go to the Super Bowl because I knocked that kick home.
Yep.
But even without the 5-yard penalty, or I'm sorry, even with the 5-yard penalty, where now it's more like a let's see, a 38-yard line. Now it's more like a 56 yard situation.
Right.
Indoors in that environment. He said, batter up, man. Let me take a swing at this thing. But they decided not only to not just kick it anyways, not only to, like, they could have run the ball, just run into the line of scrimmage for no gain or something and let Ryan Longwell kick a 56-yard field goal. They turned the ball over, which brings us to, I'm guessing, the final.
And Brett could have, again, to our point, Brett could have just tried, once he saw things in his mind, I guess, breaking down. But, I mean, the ideal thing would have been to look at Berrian and just throw him the ball, and Berrian steps out of bounds, and you don't have to worry about anything.
Okay, well, let's.
So anyway, the anger is building. The anger is it's palpable.
I'm losing patience.
I can tell. Declan so mad he can't talk. He's just pissed off beyond belief. And the final slice of pie. So it's 20% it's 25% to Childress, 20% to Peterson, 10% to the defense, 5% to Tahi, Berrian, and Harvin, 30% left. It goes to Brett Favre. Now, he did have, statistically, in some ways, a good day. Completed 28 passes, 310 yards, which, if you look at the game book, blew Drew Brees' performance out of the water. Yeah. He had a touchdown, but he had 2 picks. The second one was crucial, and he was also charged with the fumble. Because how much does that game change at halftime if the Vikings get points? Like Reggie Bush muffed the ball. God. They had the ball at the 10. Yeah. A Longwell field goal was probably worst case. Best case was they score a touchdown there, and that Favre and Favre was beat to a pulp. I totally get this, okay? So there is some, especially in hindsight, some justification for the fact that he was probably just in so much pain. But all of that being said, what are you doing? Go back and watch that. That route that Tracy Porter jumps on the ball across the field for Rice is, and I think Aikman said this, it's as predictable of outcome as you can possibly get. Like, he knows. It wasn't a throw that was a given. Berrian's open. It's already chaos. You don't need to add to the chaos. Again, worst case, dude, just stumble ahead as far as you can. Your best friend is the kicker on the team, Ryan Longwell. Yeah. So 30% goes to Favre because I can't unsee what I see every day now thinking about that pass.
And it was that, and then also the 2 years earlier, his last throw as a Packer, it wasn't a pick six, I guess, but like the near pick six against the Giants in the playoffs.
Yep.
Those moments showed you the difference between him and the actual best quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. Like the Tom Brady's, the Patrick Mahomes. Not that those guys don't make mistakes, but in a moment like that, they don't just forget about everything. They don't. In his mind there, it was, I'm Brett Favre and I'm going to thread a needle and be Brett Favre. And if you're Brady or if you're Aaron Rodgers even, sometimes Rodgers can be a little bit of a front-running quarterback. But like in a situation in that instance, he doesn't throw an interception over the middle of the field. Patrick Mahomes, who can get a little squirrely sometimes,
he runs.
He probably just run the ball for 10 yards. Yep, set you up. Kirk Cousins doesn't throw an interception in that spot. Kirk Cousins probably just completes the easy pass out to the right flat or runs the ball for 7 yards and slides. But he just like couldn't help himself from being Brett Favre in that moment.
And before you defend him completely by saying, well, yeah, he was hurt, which is part of the certainly discussion. Remember, Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl playing on a really bad ankle/leg.
Yep.
This past year. So it's doable.
Yep. Wow. I need to hear from Declan here after that pie chart exercise.
So I think the toughest thing I have with this game, outside of the fact that, yes, the turnovers are painful, the Brett Favre pick is nuts. The thing that really just bugs me is how much Vikings fans hold Bountygate for the reason they lost this game. It's been I've had this take, I've had this idea literally since the game ended. This has not been even something that I've formulated in the last few years. You beat them in every category of this game, and you shot yourself in the foot with the worst possible plays. And I know Minnesota sports fans, if they walk out of this game victorious, knowing that Bountygate still happened, it's a thump your chest moment of, you tried to hurt us and you still couldn't do it. And instead, it's you cripple yourself and you lock yourself into this one mindset of, well, they were hurting us and that's why we lost this game. No, you lost this game because your quarterback threw the dumbest pass in the world and he had 3 other incredibly dumb turnovers through the course of the game. Bountygate, to me, has zero impact on why the Vikings lost this game.
Yeah, it's a way to sort of cope, right? It's we got screwed by the league or by the officials in some way. Obviously, the amount of pressure and pain inflicted on Brett Favre had some impact, like just on the flow of the game.
Sure.
But they were like, that didn't matter on that last play. I mean, he was hobbled a little bit, but it wouldn't have prevented him from getting 5 yards or for throwing to the right receiver or something. And so, yeah, was that I have another big question for you guys in a second here, but was that at all therapeutic to hear Judd go through a pie chart, or was it just triggering? Okay.
Triggering for me.
It didn't help me. And I did it. It doesn't
It's
help
probably
me.
more triggering than I anticipated. Yeah.
I can't get past the stats. I can't get past the fact that you offensively blew them away and didn't win that game.
Yeah, so I have another sort of big question off this game for you guys in a second here, but I think we should shout out a couple of our friends real quick here, starting with Manscaped. So old Macadac, by the way, just charged up his new, is it the Beard Hedger, I believe it's called, from Manscaped. Very excited to not have 18 different attachments. It's just like you have different notches you can change it to. So very excited about that, Declan.
Yeah, it's really nice. You know, you got 4th of July coming up here, okay? And you want to look good on 4th of July, right? We're going to take some time off maybe. You're going to go up to the lake. You're going to go see family. You're going to light off some fireworks. You're going to have some beverage. You got to make sure you're looking good up front and downstairs too, okay? So let's say you're jumping in the lake. You don't want those trousers coming down, and all of a sudden you see something you don't want to see, right? Our friends at Manscaped can help take care of that for you. Right now, you can go to manscaped.com, and in the promo code, use promo code PURPLE. 20% off any product, any item at manscaped.com with promo code PURPLE. Go to manscaped.com, use that special checkout code, promo code PURPLE for 20% off plus free shipping. Go to Manscaped and manscaped.com.
Speaking of 4th of July weekend, and I guess some of you might be hearing this long after that, but for those of you who are having fun on 4th of July weekend here, hopefully you're having fun out on the water somewhere. And if you're not, maybe you should plan ahead with our friends at Power Lodge and Miller Marine for next time, because they have over 300 pontoons in stock, including some of these glorious Benningtons. We call it throttle therapy, Judd.
And this episode in particular of PD is a perfect one to talk about being on that Bennington and getting yourself some throttle therapy, because you know what? That might be the only way. That might be the only way to forget what happened in 2009 is to get out on a beautiful Minnesota summer day on the Bennington and enjoy it and decompress when it comes to your favorite football team.
Yes. So, all right, here's the last big question here off this game. Do they win the Super Bowl? If Brett Favre runs to the right, do they win the Super Bowl?
Yes, they do. He plays. That Colts team was not great. I think that there is and this probably bugs Dex because it's a little bit of the Minnesota revisionist. Well, we lost, so I'm going to justify it. I think there's a better chance the 98 team in the shape that they were in, if they go to the Super Bowl, loses to Denver, then the Vikings lose to the Colts. That Colts team was tailing off. So yes, I really believe that team was capable and would have won its first and to date only Super Bowl in 2000. Well, it was 2010 by then.
Yeah, that Colts team wasn't good. I mean, it wasn't great, I should say. It was good. Obviously, they made it to the Super Bowl. But I think they go in there and they win. And I know Brett Favre's ankle was black and blue, and I'm sure he has limited at practice and does the media availability and does all the fun stuff that is Super Bowl week. But I think the Vikings do indeed win that Super Bowl. Peyton Manning still, never has been a good playoff performer. I'll take Brett Favre over Peyton Manning. I thought the Vikings roster was more stacked over the Colts. Yes, I think they win the dang Super Bowl if they beat the Saints.
You know what? I'm just looking back on that Colts team. So I agree. I do think they win the Super Bowl. And that Colts team was kind of getting toward the end of its run. And Peyton Manning eventually then had the neck surgery like a couple years, like a year later or 2 years later. And then they went into the Andrew Luck era. But do you guys remember that Colts team started the season 14-0? I was trying to remember why did
now
we
that you
not
mention
think
it,
highly of that? Why did we not think highly of that Colts team? It's because they lost their last 2 regular season games, scoring 15 and 7 points. That last game they might have sat their starters, and then they only scored 20 points in the first round. They did beat the Jets pretty handily in the conference championship game, but they just kind of they peaked in like November, and it felt like you didn't get the same punch from them in like late December, January.
Do you guys recall a couple of years ago, probably about 4 years ago now, the Pittsburgh Steelers had a ridiculous record, and we were all like, this ain't them. Like they continue to win games, and we're like, they're not that good. I want to say this Colts team, it's not a perfect comparison because I actually think the Steelers team I'm talking about was worse, but I want to say that this Colts team didn't feel nearly as good as the record was.
Yeah, that was the Steelers team that lost to Baker and the Browns in the playoffs, the one you're talking about, right?
Yes.
That was the COVID year, 2020.
But they kept winning before that.
Yeah.
But I want to say
team, they were 8-0 in one-score games that year. There was actually a little bit of
it's not sustainable.
2022 Vikings.
Not sustainable.
We talked about that on Purple Daily a lot this season. There was a lot of comparables to both those teams.
Yeah. And then the next year they regressed back down to 10-6. And I think Peyton Manning played that year. Yeah, he played that year. But they regressed back to 10-6 the next season.
Anyway, no, it didn't help. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was not therapeutic at all whatsoever, actually. It was just sort of rage-inducing. Drummed up a lot of emotions. Old Macadac and the Judster were headed to Miami covering that. You were covering for the Star Tribune. I was covering for KFAN.com. So
that's the famous story where I think it was the Sidney Rice play. No, it was the Chester Taylor run where Chip Scoggins sitting by me in the press box at the Superdome said they're going Super Bowl, and I said just wait. I said gotta wait. Not so sure of this. I didn't trust it.
Yeah,
and it was and then it happened.
Yeah. We'd love to hear from you guys too. Either hit us up through the feedback tab in the Score North app or in the YouTube comment section or tweet us. What other historical pie charts would you like us to slice up? I did see someone hit us up. They want us to do the Blair Walsh 27-yard missed field goal game. Another rage inducer. So let us know what other games.
I sent you guys an email from one to this morning on the Cowboys game. The Cowboys win in 09 that went to the Saints game.
That's a good
week
one.
before this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they're just the beatdown of Tony Romo and the Cowboys. That'd be fun.
Just annihilation.
Mm-hmm.
We can do that one. We should stack up at least one of the Super Bowl losses at some point. Maybe the 87 playoff win over the Niners.
Oh,
isn't that
Anthony Carter game?
Yeah,
because there was the back-to-back. They beat the Saints and then San Fran and just kicked the Niners' ass in Candlestick Park.
That could be a fun one too.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll keep stockpiling these. But all right, thanks for if you somehow made it to the end of this episode, we appreciate your masochism.
We apologize.
Yeah. So, all right, there it is. Purple Daily Vikings entertainment and sometimes therapy, but not today.